So while we are warming up for JMAP, we just lost one chair to ISG. Thank you, Barry. I'm still looking for a co-chair to help out Bron. I had few suggestions, but I would like to have more candidates too.
I'm pointing out that from my point of view, I'm not the responsible AD for this one, but from my point of view, it's more than helping out. It's inappropriate, I think, for Bron to be the only chair given his company affiliation.
Yeah.
And, you know, I trust Bron completely, but from optics, we need somebody else to cover.
So please send me emails if you would like to co-chair.
All right, Meet Echo is up. People are in. Thank you, remote participants. Thank you, people who are here. Here is the note well again. For those of you who have come in recently, please note it well. Starting with thank you to Barry for your time and your mentoring here. I very much appreciate it. I look forward to my new co-chair when we find one. Let's start with the progress of core and mail. Neil is remotely present if you want to talk about that, Neil. There's an update since I wrote these slides that JMAP core, the last discuss has been cleared and it's been submitted now.
I don't really have a lot to say other than I believe, we've resolved all the issues. They're both core and mail in the editor queue. Thanks very much to everyone that provided feedback and all the tremendous amount of work that went into it. And I think we've ended up with 2 fantastic documents, and looking forward to those finishing the final stages, being published, and seeing more people implement it. I think this is a big improvement on what we've had before. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that's been involved with that.
Yeah, round of applause. Good work. Awesome. Thanks, Neil. All right. Moving on, we have WebSockets. And Ken.
Good afternoon, everyone. Next slide, please, Ron. So there's been a few changes in the last month since Bangkok. First of which, we now identify each object that the server sends to the client. This is related to the third item, which is we now allow push over the WebSocket, and we additionally allow out-of-order processing of the requests. Next slide, please. So in terms of identifying each object, the state change object already had a type, so we've leveraged that and added that to the response object and to the problem details object. Next slide, please. So for out-of-order processing, now the client can optionally include a ID property in each of its requests, and then the server will echo that back in either the response object or a top-level problem details object, so that the client can reconcile where the responses belong. Next slide, please. Okay, push. This takes the form of the existing state change object that's already in core. The only open issue with this is how the server should advertise support and how the client enables push and selects which push notifications that they would like. The current draft, I leverage what is already documented for event source. There's a type query parameter on the URL that's used to bootstrap the request. Neil suggested that he might want to have a separate object for this. So I'll let Neil discuss that as soon as I'm done here. The other issue, which this comes up in the event source stuff, with the event source, when the client enables notifications, it can give the server its last known state, and the server can quickly resync with a bunch of notifications. So my question is, do we want to do something similar over WebSockets? The only, I guess it's not really a downside, but the only new behavior the server would have to have would be basically a server-wide token for that particular account, so that when it comes back, it knows what to resync. This would most likely be sent on each push notification, so that the client has its last known state. So that's one of the open questions. Neil, do you want to say anything about using a new object?
So I'm not sure what the best solution is here. The issue is how you to tell the WebSocket which types you want push events for. So the way event source works, because it's just a long form URL, it gets encoded into the URL, and then if you want to change that, you just disconnect and reconnect with a new URL. That didn't seem very WebSockety to me. Like the fact you'd have to disconnect and reconnect again if you want to change that seemed odd. So another option is to make define a new method that you can use when you're connected via one of these WebSockets, and which is more like push subscription kind of /set, where you call a method and say, from now on, this WebSocket sends me push notifications, state changes for these object types. That might make sense. It's a bit weird in some ways that it's a method call acting on your connection rather than on any actual data on the backend server. But then again, push subscription is also slightly weird, and that's acting on your kind of session-ish. I don't know. I'm not hugely sold on either approach. I don't know if there's other options out there. I don't know what people think of the two or what might be better. Because we haven't tried this, I haven't got any implementation experience either to guide what might be a better choice.
Okay, good. Ken,
Thanks,
you're back.
Neil. Yeah, thanks, Neil. So I don't have any strong opinions either way. I took the path of least resistance with what I currently documented, but I am totally open to whatever consensus is in terms of which way we want to go. I guess the one plus of doing it as a new object, as Neil said, you can change this in flight without having to close down the socket and reconnect. If we do this as a new object, presumably we would advertise support for push in the capabilities response, which is no big deal. We already have the WebSocket URL listed there, so this would just be probably a Boolean that says what that we either supported or not, or we could list the type of notifications that the server is capable of returning.
Was that someone else in the queue there?
Sounded like it.
All right.
So I've just thought of one other option, a kind of third option, rather than a method call. We already have different object types that are being returned over this WebSocket now. It could get back a response to requests or a state change push object, etc. We could also define a new type of object that you can send over the WebSocket that is modify this WebSocket thing in some way, rather than it being tied in with a method call. Not saying that's any better, just a thought of a third option that we could consider.
That's exactly what I was looking at right now, reading through the draft and seeing if there was an obvious place to put one of them. So that makes sense to me.
It would certainly work. I don't know whether that's any better from a design-wise point of view. I haven't thought about it in enough detail, I guess.
So I guess, are there any thoughts from the room in terms of which way we want to go, or a viable third or fourth option?
No one's jumping up. It sounds to me like it makes sense for it to be another top-level thing within the WebSocket stream rather than adding it to JMAP when it is purely about this current WebSocket stream.
So I'm not quite sure I understood where Neil was going. So you're saying that this would be some type of setting within the WebSocket packaging itself and not part of the
Yeah,
protocol?
so it would be a separate WebSocket package. So rather than being a request package, it would be a modify this stream package.
Okay. I'll have to go back and look at the WebSocket stuff to see if we can use an existing frame or if we have to basically
Well, at the
define our
moment,
own.
we've got @type response. We don't have @type request. So if we put an @type request in the request, and then we could have a different @type modify stream or something that altered the events that were being pushed.
Okay. You, Neil, and myself can discuss that offline, most likely.
Yeah.
Any strong feelings on whether or not we want to have a basically a last known state that the client can return to the server and basically do a quick resync?
Alexi says, sounds like a good idea. Not a good enough idea to get up to the microphone and talk about, but he's right next to it too.
Well, yeah, I haven't read the latest version, and I haven't really understood the notifications within WebSocket. That's why I'm trying not to say anything stupid more than anything else. You know?
My guess is that this might be something that would be an optional support type item for the server, because there might be some implementations that aren't capable of keeping track of basically multiple accounts for a given set of authentication credentials.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay, I'll work up some text for that.
All right. It feels to me like the next step for this draft is to get some implementation experience of everything that we've decided to do and check that it actually works in the real world before pushing for publication. I'm seeing some nodding.
Yes, Cyrus currently supports basically all the API stuff. The only thing I have not implemented yet is the push, because it's still in a state of flux.
Cool.
Okay, that's it for this slide. There is one more slide. Does anybody care about even looking at different compression algorithms for WebSockets, or just stick with deflate?
Alexei here. So I was talking about use of broadly NZ standards and dictionary with Facebook people in other contexts. So that's actually an interesting point, and it might be more generic than just this use case. Do you have a specific proposal you would like?
No, it was just a thought that I had, and I am not expert enough on compression to even probably attempt to document it for WebSockets. I'd most likely need a co-author to do that if we choose to go that route.
Because there were various extensions, and I vaguely remember there was something about compression for WebSockets, but I don't remember whether it ever got to the RFC stage.
Yes, there is an existing extension for compression, and the only currently documented algorithm is deflate, which is supported out there, and it does work.
Does it have an extension point to be able to plug in other things?
It does. But yeah, I believe you have to specify how you're going to do padding and that kind of thing, and that's beyond my realm of expertise.
Okay, can you send me a reminder directly, and I'll connect you to Murray Kucheravi.
Sure.
From Facebook, who was helping with this standard. So maybe we can think of something.
He left us 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I know. He was just here. That's why I was like looking around the room.
Yeah. All right, Neil's waiting in the queue, so I might pop him forwards.
Just want to say I don't think the compression stuff is part of our spec. Like, that's a WebSocket protocol thing. As Ken said, there's already the deflate defined. Having others define could be interesting, but should be nothing to do with our specification. That should just be up to the server and the client to negotiate which WebSocket extensions and capabilities they support, and then pick the best compression method that they both support. Like, this would be like saying which compression method we want for HTTP responses in the core spec. That doesn't seem appropriate at all.
Yeah, I agree. That's partially why I said, this is a more generic question. But for cases of broadly NZ standard, they are not even defined for WebSockets. So a more general question is, do people want to get involved with trying to figure out how to define this? But again, I think we'll need, if people want to experiment and see how much benefit there is actually from compression of different things.
Using deflate versus nothing is going to be your biggest win. Brotli or Z standard are both better, but probably not so much that it's as important. But as I said, regardless, this is an entirely separate issue as far as I can see. It's not to do with JMAP.
All right, thank you. I'll bring Ken back in.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Neil said. My question was more of, if we think one of these is better for compressing JMAP traffic, do we want to push some other working group to standardize those compressions for WebSockets? That's essentially where I was going with it.
Yeah, let's talk.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you. That's everything?
That's everything.
Great. Thanks, Ken. Let's go back to the share slides and MDN. I don't have any slides for this. The draft was updated based on feedback from last meeting. I suggest that we ask for some implementation experience. I checked with Lenagora. They are running something that's very similar to it, but not entirely updated to the latest message submission standard. So they're not doing the message submission part of it. I think we should try and implement it, get a second implementation up and running before publishing. It certainly looks better than, yes, we do have Raphael there. Do you want to speak to it?
Yes, hello everybody.
Hello.
So I updated the spec. I tried to be more complete about this, adding some methods about parsing MDN, which can easily be done server side, and also some samples to explain more in details how it works. I also changed the original create MDN to a send MDN method, which is really more near of what we are using currently. So we are not very far from the current spec, just some, but we don't implement, as you say, in message submission, so it's an issue to implement it exactly, but as soon as we update, we will update to this trust also. That's it. So as you said, it will be interesting to have other implementation for this, and that's it. I think that was just one open question, but we can just continue to discuss this on the list.
Cool. I will ask Ken and Robert to implement it in Cyrus so we can test it there. And then we'll have a second implementation of it and we can give feedback on implementing from the draft. I think that'll be a good point to then go to publication if a second implementation works well. If you're happy with that.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you. Anything else you want to say about it here or? No? Cool. All right. Thank you. Next we recharter. I'll just pop you off. We've finished core and mail. Talking to Alexi about what to do with the charter, we've agreed not to throw everything in all at once. Maybe we just start with calendars. Maybe we recharter for calendars and contacts, knowing that the contact format still needs to find a home. Any particular opinion on what to do there? Should we just do calendars now?
Is extensions already in scope?
Extensions to, let's have a look at the exactly what we've got here.
We're sort of working on two already, right? So I don't know whether we need to reach out to them. I don't remember.
All right, according to our charter, certainly it specifically says that we will do mail. It doesn't actually specify that the extensions are within scope. So I would say we should charter for calendar and extensions to mail.
Yes. I think that's both, you know, it's not just a single item and it's not, you know, million of them.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah,
quite
extensions to core, extensions to mail, adding calendar.
Yeah.
Yep. Because WebSockets I would count as an extension to core. Cool. I will work on some wording for that and propose it. All right. And then calendars, we have the existing spec there. I would say along with this call for adoption of a calendar spec based on that work, knowing that there will be additional work to do specifically around scheduling, and there's some other outstanding questions as well.
Who's your current pen holder editor?
The current editor is Neil. I don't know if he wants to take this one all the way through. Neil?
Hello. Yeah, I'd probably be happy to edit the calendar one. Do have advantage of experience with both JMAP and calendars. Yeah, perhaps we can find a co-author. I don't know, but yeah, I think I'd be happy to stick with this particular spec.
Is there anyone in the room who would like to be a co-author on calendar? Everyone's studiously ignoring me.
Knowledge of IMIP scheduling would be preferred. Maybe we'll throw the question out to the CalConnect list as well. Might get some more people involved with IETF from there too.
My name is on IMAP, but it doesn't make me either an expert or I don't have a desire to, you know, co-edit at the moment. There's too much on my plate. So
yeah. All right, I will throw a request out to the CalX list as well.
In lieu of any other volunteers, I can certainly help Neil if he's looking to share the load a little bit.
Cool. It's partly trying to get in a co-editor from outside Fastmail as well. Might be a goal.
That's what I assumed, but throw it out there anyways.
All right. I believe we are going to skip over contacts for now. Since the JS contact format still hasn't found a home, it's not quite time to try and cook this one in this group, I'd say. We'll punt that down the road. This question came up, virtual mailboxes, whether we wanted to do a extension specifically around virtual mailboxes, saved searches, the kind of mailbox that you can't directly add or remove messages to, but they appear in there due to other actions, like an important mailbox that has every single flagged message anywhere in your entire mail store, or an unread mailbox which contains all your unread email, and some kind of property on a mailbox for that. Neil?
So the main thing to think about here is that email objects contain the list of mailboxes that they belong to. So if you had a virtual mailbox, would that be in that list too? If yes, that's probably considerably more difficult to implement, or might be considerably more difficult to implement, because you have to notify that the email has changed with the the update mechanism whenever it goes in or out of a virtual mailbox. That can be very hard depending on how complex the virtual mailbox is. If you define that it's not going to be inside that mailbox ID's bit of the email, then this is something the same as save search, something we actually already have at Fastmail, and basically it becomes fairly straightforward. It's just kind of saving the filter object that you use with email query already and associating that with a name and saying display this as a mailbox. Because emails, opening a mailbox and viewing the content is nothing special compared to a search in JMAP. It's just a simple emails / query. So a virtual mailbox is just a name for a particular filter at that point, which is quite straightforward.
Right, Alexei here. We spent numerous hours in IMAP land trying to make virtual mailboxes work. So I think there is use case for this. And I tend to agree that actually associating it with a different object like filter might be easier way and to implement for everybody. So that sounds like a sensible direction.
Yeah, I think the cool thing is that they don't show up in the mailbox IDs property of an email, and therefore you don't have to say that the email's changed when something goes in and out of one of the virtual mailboxes. That will make implementation way easier.
Well, we certainly spend lots of time in IETF trying to discuss, mailboxes depending on flags, and it's like or time-based, and yeah, this I agree. Avoiding this would make it much more tractable.
Yeah, as I said, because then it really is just a particular filter for email / query saved with a name. The main thing is, again, all the other question is whether you'll get unread and total counts on the mailbox object or not, because again, keeping those up to date can be expensive for the server. So that's a question that needs to be considered.
All right. I don't think anyone has specifically come forward and said they want to write a draft on this, but this would clearly fall within the scope of an extension to mail if someone does want to bring it.
Add it to list of possible, and if people can come forward, somebody other than Neil, he can supervise, and he already sketched out the whole thing. So if somebody
Just have to write it now. It sounds straightforward.
Yeah. Just pull out the copy in our internal API.
I'm actually thinking even, if Cam can write it, it's still better than just everything, all the knowledge concentrated in your head,
Yeah.
All right. S-MIME, Alexei has promised to write something in his copious free time.
Well, yeah, I had I never actually posted it as a draft. I think I just sent it to the mailing list, but I can post it. There was a very simple extension for showing just status of S-MIME signature verification. But this can be built on top if you want to deal with the sending side of things and assume that you trust the server with the keys. But these are probably two sort of, the signature verification one is straightforward and probably easy. Well, it's definitely easy to implement, and it's more likely to be implementable. Where the sending side is probably at least separate capability.
Yeah. All right.
So,
if
well,
you're happy to resurrect that and post it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do a call for adoption right now.
Okay.
For we will take the work on. Cool. Review of milestones. I believe we've just got update charter and the informational guidance document, guidance for implementation of IMAP servers and proxies still needs to be done. And that's currently got a milestone of June 2019. I don't know that that will be done by then, realistically. Recharter is for April 2019, aka very soon, straight after this. Do we have anything else we want to add? A milestone for when we expect to get the contacts work done by, say December this year? Seem reasonable? Sorry, the calendar work. If I said contacts, I meant calendar.
Yes. Without looking at the document, I have no clue.
Yeah.
So I assume you read it, so you think it's doable by December?
I would imagine so.
Okay.
Neil, as author on that, do you have any opinion on whether we can get it done by December this year?
Look, I guess it's possible. I think the main thing is just working out how we do the scheduling and how much we want to define in that document. I think one of the troubles with the existing specifications for this is they are completely impenetrable, and so people give up trying to base their implementation on those and just try and copy what they seem to see going around. And that's one of the things that we've tried to fix with JS Calendar. For example, the recurrence rule definition in there is understandable and explicit, as opposed to obscure and rubbish, which is what's in 5545. So it might be nice if we could do a similar thing with the JMAP calendar spec in terms of actually making it understandable which IMIP messages should be sent when, and we plan to make that more explicit too. But because we don't, that I'm not quite sure how much work that is right now, and I don't know exactly when we'll get to it. So, December's a fair way off. It could be done, but I don't know necessarily. We'll definitely get it done by then.
I'll say June 2020 then.
That might be better. If we get it done earlier, great.
Yeah, we can expect that one to be a bit later. SMIME, on the other hand, should be able to deliver, hopefully, faster than that. So put SMIME for December. And WebSockets and MDN, I'll put MDN for December-ish as well. Yeah. Okay, I'll put MDN in September, just for fun, just for a rough place. And WebSockets, same. We should have, because those two are a fair way along already. Cool. All right. I will update the milestones based on that. Plans for what we want to do in Montreal. I imagine we will have enough to talk about to meet again in Montreal. There's documents in progress. Any other proposal of new work for the group? No? Awesome. Friends of Email Dinner is tomorrow night. Can I get a rough show of hands of how many people expect to come along to dinner? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Cool. All right. Yeah, I'll reserve for the 12 that I did last time. That expect a similar size to that. We'll organize that via email, I guess. We've got another meeting, extra meeting tomorrow morning, so most people will be at that. Cool. Yeah, it makes sense to meet in the lobby here at 6:45 or something, doesn't it? Cool. I will. Yeah. Awesome. All right. We still have 20 minutes left, but I think we've finished everything that's on our list. Blue sheets did float around. They're up here. If anyone missed them. Yes, if anyone wants to co-chair, please let Alexi know. No, not from Fastmail. Yeah, I will be. Yep, I'll be missing the first day of the next IETF. I have to be in Melbourne on the Monday for the final day of a course I've been on for 6 months. So I'll be flying in Tuesday morning. Thank you. Cool. Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. All done. See many of you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.
So